Well, howdy there, chemists. We did it. We made it all the way to week 6 of our Intro to Organic Chemistry class, the end of week 6, and we're just about to go into week 7. We're on that fast downhill portion, and I think starting to kind of feel like, wow, the end's in sight. Maybe we can actually do this. So one of the organic families that we got introduced to this week is the ester, and I told you last week how much this meme still just cracks me up, because that's kind of how I feel, not just the first time I learned about esters and especially their nomenclature, but even as I try to teach them, I still kind of have this what the hell is this kind of feel to it. So I hope that you can kind of think about that. An ester is the love child of a carboxylic acid and an alcohol, in the same way that weird penguin elephant thing is the love child of in that little meme there. So highlights of the week. Let's talk highlights. I can get everything to work. Okay, so I think our main highlight of the week, of course, is our continued survival during this pandemic and our overall awesomeness. I've enjoyed seeing a few more of you kind of pop into office hours or send me questions over Remind, and it's just good. It makes me like, I know you're alive and you're doing well, and gives me a chance to help you. I feel a little bit like I've spent a lot of this quarter kind of like, just let me help you. So it's been that I really enjoyed that part of this week, is starting to see a few more of you. If you send me an email if you need, stop into a Zoom office hour, schedule a Zoom office hour that works better for you. I really truly am here for you. Another highlight of the week is we did have a Zoom session recorded and posted this week. It's posted in a couple different places as always, so you can find it in the week 6 learning outcome and to-do list, because I always link it there, and then you can also just find it in your unit 3 module, because I posted there as well. And it was a really good one this week, kind of just through a few questions, covered lots of different content. So if you haven't had an opportunity to watch that, I would definitely recommend it. Okay, so you can see we actually covered a lot. There was a lot going on this week as we went through that entire chapter on carboxylic acids and their derivatives like acid anhydrides and acid chlorides. Some things you might notice is there are things that are in the book and that might have popped up in a Learn Smart, like naming of acid anhydrides, naming of acid chlorides, or preparing them, but they are not on our learning outcome list. And if they're not on that list, that tells you that while it might be really fascinating information, it's not something that you should expect to see on a test or quiz. We already learn a lot of things already, and so there's a few things that I have decided to be like, we're just going to cut it off there, and that's one of those places. So hopefully that clarifies a few things for you. So obviously, let me go back here for just a second. You probably can't read this at all on the screen, but you have access to this through your learning outcomes and to-do list. You should see these exact same objectives. This is that list of we should be able to, and we're still probably doing the work of putting it into long-term memory, but these were the kind of the goals of the week. So in terms of our discussion questions, let's talk about those real quickly. Felt like overall, and looking at it, you guys did a great job of kind of picking up on the carboxylic acid portion of this. So our citric fruits often have citric acid, which is not just a carboxylic acid, but actually multi. It has several different carboxyl groups within there, which means it has slightly acidic properties, and that impacts its spoilage rate because it prevents that bacterial or fungal growth that causes other fruits to spoil by having essentially its own kind of pH system to keep the pH low and prevent that. So great job there. For this next question, methanol and methanoic acid. So here's our methanol. Here's methanoic acid. So this is one of our new organic families. Though we got kind of introduced to them a little bit last unit because alcohols can be oxidized to them from aldehydes. So we have our carboxylic acid. We can react these together through a process we can call esterification to make an ester. So we have methyl methanoate. So this is that elephant penguin thing going on here, the love child of the carboxylic acid and the alcohol. The second question about how would their boiling points compare, the molecule is getting larger. So an esterification reaction is a condensation reaction. So we condense it into smaller for more than one through the removal of water, so even further named well as a condensation reaction. And a lot of times as molecules get larger, we would expect to see their boiling or melting points increase. because of, larger, higher van der Waals forces or London dispersion forces, depending on how you want to call those. However, in this case, it does get bigger, but it doesn't get bigger to the same degree or in comparison to the fact that it loses out on the ability to hydrogen bond. So because of the loss of that hydroxyl and that hydrogen, the loss of the water molecule, you can see here, if I can get my mouse to cooperate, come on mouse, we don't have an opportunity for that very special and strong type of intermolecular force called hydrogen bonding in our ester, but we did have that over here. There's my mouse again. We have it in both the methanoic acid and the methanol. So, and some of you I saw actually looked up the values to compare. The product here of this condensation reaction does actually have a lower boiling point, even though it's a larger molecule. So even though the molecule gets bulkier, it loses that really strong attraction for each other, and so it's easier to boil the product here. And then on this question in regard to black smuck, I'm actually not going to address it too much in this video, and the main reason that I'm not going to is not just because I'm lazy and tired, but the big thing is we talked about it in the Zoom meeting that got recorded and posted, and so I feel like kind of like that's already available to you. So if you're wanting to a little bit more clarification on that, essentially this is the breaking of an ester. Fats and oils are esters. They're linked together. They have ester linkages. Often they're triesters, triglycerides. And so we can break them apart through a process called saponification. So again, we've kind of already addressed this in that Zoom video, along with lots of fancy drawings, and you get to see me nerd out on getting to use the colors. So if you want more clarification there, I'd encourage you to go look at that. So where are we going next? So we've learned about hydrocarbons. In the last couple chapters, we've learned about oxygen as an element being kind of added into our hydrocarbons and the way that impacts chemistry in various ways, from alcohols to aldehydes and ketones and carboxylic acids and esters and ethers. And now we're actually going to kind of switch gears for a second and talk about a completely new element that we haven't been talking before, which is nitrogen. Nitrogen is the fourth most common atom in a living system, so it definitely deserves its own chapter. And so we'll be talking about those nitrogen-containing compounds that include amines and amides, and we'll learn words like alkaloid and I don't remember the other things we're going to learn. Amides remind me a lot of esters, not only in their overall synthesis, but in the way they then can be hydrolysized and how that hydrolysis is different in an acidic versus a basic environment. These are actually our last organic families. This is really our last organic chapter before we move into biochemistry. So our Unit 3 test will be opening up next week. It will open up probably Friday, hopefully Friday at the latest, and run until the following Tuesday. We're going to do that again. Remember not to spend too long in Unit 3 because you don't want to get behind there in our last unit. So what's next for you? What do you need to be doing? As always, complete anything that's left. If you haven't taken your quiz or you need to wrap up some discussions, remember 24 hours should pass between your peer replies if you want full credit. Maybe you haven't done the homework yet, you have your lab, etc. Make sure to check on feedback from your previous unit test, what you missed and why. I've left comments on a few of those. If you're not sure how to do that, please send me an email or jump into a Zoom session. It's actually pretty easy. If you share your screen with me, I can show you how to go to Connect. Click on, view the report and see all of that. But I'm more than willing to walk you through that process if you need it. Make your initial post early in the week. I try to make mine on Sunday or Monday and then come back by about Wednesday to make that second reply. Get through the reading and get through the videos. As always, you guys, and I know you guys are doing a good job with time management, or you're working hard to during this crazy time. Don't confuse the due date with the do it date, in the sense of, if you don't have to wait until Wednesday to do the reading and you don't have to wait until Thursday to do the videos, you can always move those up and do those a little earlier in the week, especially to give you more time to participate in the discussion in a timely way. So just something to think about. And then, click on and review and begin working on the to-do list, the learning outcomes and to-do list. This is one of those weeks where there is an article linked in there that you're going to want to read in order to participate fully in the discussion. And so you're not going to be able to necessarily see that article in any other place other than through that learning outcome and to-do list. And there's always some kind of pertinent and helpful information in there as well. And then I did decide to put in another Easter egg. This one isn't an actual Easter egg because that would be ridiculous and silly. But the meme in your learning outcome and to-do list for week 7 is actually a link. So you do have to click on it. So that's what makes it an Easter egg, is it looks like one thing, but it's actually a link to something else. So you want to click on it, and that will describe an extra credit opportunity for the week if you happen to be interested. I hope you guys have a great week and a great weekend, and continue to stay safe as we begin that, wrapping up our quarter.